everybody, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to show you how I do a full face of makeup on days where it's really hot and humid and sticky outside. This is how I do my makeup when I want it to last, when I want it to be sweat proof, when I want it to be oil free for a very long time on a hot summer day. I usually don't wear makeup when it's really hot out like it is today. But if I do go somewhere and I want to just make sure my makeup lasts, this is how I would do it. So I'm going to show y'all how I came up with this look and the routine that I do to make it last all day. Let's jump right into it. Okay, for me, one of the most important steps in a makeup routine to make sure that my makeup will withstand the heat and humidity is to do the powder before foundation technique. So it's exactly what it sounds like in case you're not familiar with it. It's putting powder on underneath your liquid foundation. So that's what I'm going to do today. I'm going to be mixing two powders together, the Maybelline Fit Me powder in 15 Light along with the ColourPop No Filter setting powder in medium deep. I mix these two together because this is the powder that I typically use, but the shade that I have, I can work with it, but it is a little light on me to the point where I could probably do 2 shades darker. But I've decided instead of buying that shade, since I do already have this one, I'm just going to mix it in with that lighter powder instead of buying more, because I can get away with mixing these two together. And when I do this step, I like using more of like a skin tone powder, and I will explain why when we get to the foundation part. But I'm hoping that y'all can see this, but this is basically the color of the powder that I'm going to be putting on my face. Now, I get very oily in my T-zone area, so I'm going to take a dry sponge. This is the Sonia Kashuk sponge, and I'm just going to pick up a good amount of the powder, and I'm going to really press it into my skin, but only in the areas where I tend to get super oily and super sweaty. So I'm just going to really concentrate this on my forehead and on my nose and on the sides of my nose. I am also going to put a little bit of it on my upper lip. I have a very sweaty upper lip and it drives me crazy, but I don't like putting a whole lot of product right there, even powder products, but I will do it on days like today. So I hope that you can see that it automatically gave me like a really matte finish in those areas. I am going to go in with just a little bit more powder in my T-zone. And I'm like really pressing this into my skin just to make sure that it's really adhering to it. I should have mentioned before I started that I don't usually do like a liquid foundation primer, which is why I went right in with the powder. But if you do like using primer, I would do the primer first and then this powder. But I do have on an SPF and moisturizer on my face, and I typically, like I said, I don't do foundation primers. Okay, moving on to foundation, I'm going to be using the Fenty Beauty foundation in the shades 340 and 380. On a day like today where it's really hot and humid, I would either use this or my NYX Can't Stop Won't Stop foundation. And just so you'll know, I'm in the shade Mahogany in this one. So the only reason I chose Fenty today is because I'm just trying to finish these off. I'm almost done with them, so I'm just trying to keep using it up until I'm finished with it. So I'm going to be mixing these two colors. I'm going to be doing like, I guess, equal parts of both shades. And I like to apply my foundation. I like to put it on my finger and then swipe it onto my cheek. I don't like dipping my brush or my sponge into the foundation, but I always like to concentrate my foundation on my cheek because that's always where I want the most coverage. I'm going to be blending that out with the same Sonia Kashuk sponge. I just took it and I wet it a little bit. So I'm just going to blend it out. And like I said, I like to get most of the coverage on my cheek. I'm just dragging it down a little bit on my neck. And then after I feel like I've gotten like most of the coverage on my cheek, then I will go in and apply the foundation to my forehead and my nose. And I always do my T-zone area last. I'll do this in general, but especially when I'm doing my makeup for hot weather, I will put the foundation on my T-zone last because I want the least amount of liquid products on these areas, because that also will help for my makeup to stay dry during the day. And because I put that powder there first, I don't really need a whole lot of coverage in those areas because that powder gave me a little bit of coverage, which is why I like to use more of like a skin tone powder, because it'll help blend in with the color of my skin. All right, I'm just gonna do the same thing on the other side. And I should also mention that I put barely any of the foundation on my under eye area because I'm gonna go on that area with some of the concealer. So I don't like to put too much of a mattifying foundation on my under eye because I just don't want that area to dry out too much. Okay, for concealer, I'm using Too Faced Born This Way in the shade Mocha, the Too Faced Born This Way Multi-Use Sculpting Concealer in Mocha. And I've seen a couple of YouTubers do a technique that I'm going to try today. So what I'm going to do is, I would normally put on however much I think I'm going to need and then go back and blend it out. But I'm going to try to do this in layers. So I'm going to start off with just a little bit of concealer. That's way less than I would normally put on my under eye area. So I'm going to start off with a smaller amount. Then I'm going to blend it in and then layer it up. I like to blend my under eye concealer out with a brush. This is the Luxie 512 small contouring brush. I just feel like when you use a brush, it doesn't shear your concealer out as much as a sponge. So I'm just kind of like stippling it on, and I'm dragging it out this way to try and create that lifted effect. And then another thing that I'm going to start trying to remember to do is not drag too much of the concealer down to where my nose stops, which is where what I would normally do. So I'm going to start trying to remember to concentrate the concealer like right on my under eye area, and then take the residual concealer and blend it out a little down here. And I think that that will help make the concealer look less harsh, like right around here. All right, and I'm gonna go back over this area with another layer and pretty much do the same thing again. So putting on a lot less than I would in one swipe. I do feel like I need a little more over here. And then I'm gonna go back and blend it out again. And same deal, I'm concentrating it like right on the under eye area where I want the most coverage. And then taking the residual right at the bottom of my nose, like on my jawline. I'm also going to take some of the concealer that's left on the brush and just hit my chin and my forehead. And I mentioned in a previous video that I don't actually apply product here because I always feel like I apply way too much. So I just like taking residual product right here. Okay, so that's what my base is looking like. I'm gonna go back to my sponge and I'm just gonna lightly hit right where my concealer and my foundation are meeting each other. A lot of times I forget to hit right here where I've stopped blending the concealer, so remember I applied it in this direction. A lot of times I forget to go back and blend right here where the concealer meets the foundation, and I notice that I have a line right there. So I'm just blending that out to make sure that the line is blended in. All right, when I wear this particular foundation, even on warmer, like more humid days, I normally don't set it with a powder because I feel like it dries down to a nice matte finish, but I am going to set my under eye. So I'm gonna be using the Pretty Vulgar, this is called the Pretty Vulgar Matte About It Translucent Setting Powder. And I got this from BoxyCharm. And I wasn't sure if I was gonna like this because I hope y'all can see the color of it. Just remember, I'm still trying to work on my lighting situation because I've converted from filming on a camera to my phone, so I apologize if the lighting isn't the best, but I wasn't sure if this was gonna come out to be more of like a beigey type color or more yellow, but to me it's more beigey. I don't really notice like a yellow cast to it, so it works for my under eye. So I'm gonna take the same sponge, I'm just turning it over to the side with no foundation, and I'm going to lightly set the concealer. And I have to be very careful when I'm setting my under eye because they always dry out. Maybe not quite as much on days like today because it's just like a really humid day, but just in general, my under eye area dries out so much. So I try to use very little powder. Like sometimes I won't even set my under eye at all. But I have noticed when I apply my powder with a damp sponge, I guess that dampness is helping to set and add a little moisture at the same time so it doesn't dry out as much when I set with a sponge, a damp sponge. And normally I would wait till the very end to set my face with a setting spray, but I'm going to add some setting spray now, and then I'm going to add it again when we get closer to the end of the routine. But I'm going to go in with the Rimmel Stay Matte Fix and Go 2-in-1 primer and setting spray. I'm just now noticing that you could use this as a primer also, but lately I've been using this as a setting spray. So I'm going to apply a good amount of this over my base. And I'm just going to dry it out a little bit. Okay, so this is what my base is looking like so far. And since we are focusing on the face today, I'm gonna do my eye makeup off camera. So I'm gonna do my brows and I'm gonna do a very simple eyeshadow look because I'm not going anywhere special. So I'm gonna do all of that off camera and then we'll come back and finish up with the rest of the face. Okay, I did a very simple eye look for today. As usual, I'm not satisfied with my brows, but I never am. But I kept my eye look very simple because like I said, I'm not going anywhere special. So we're gonna move on to bronzer, blush, and highlighter. And basically I do the same thing that I would do on a day like today that I would on any other day. But my only suggestion for like a really hot, humid day would be to just use powder products. So not saying that you can't use cream or liquid products and get them to work for you. I just think using a powder product when you're trying to keep your face matte, and when I say dry, I don't mean, I guess I should say make your face not get oily and shiny throughout the day. I think powder products will work better because they are just more dry in nature. So I'm gonna go in with the Physicians Formula Butter Bronzer. This one is in the shade Endless Summer. This is what it looks like, and this shade is exclusive to Ulta, which would explain why I kept trying to find it in Target and CVS with no luck. But I'm just gonna apply this to right above the hollows of my cheek. I also like applying it right on my temple and just continue to drag it up on my forehead. When I apply the bronzer on my forehead, I like to do it kind of like in a messy motion so that it doesn't look like a straight line of product going across my forehead. And I'm just going to drag it along to this temple and also apply some right above the hollow of the cheek on this side. I'm going to fix my lighting a little bit because I feel like it looks a little dark. So let me fix that real quick. Okay. Yeah, that looks a lot better. Okay, so I'm also going to stick with the same bronzer, but I'm just switching over to a smaller brush, and I'm going to use this to lightly define my nose. I used to contour back in the day, and then I switched over to bronzing instead because I feel like bronzing looks more just natural on the face, and I just don't really care for like a really like snatched look. Like even when I'm doing my makeup for special occasions, I don't really want to like contour my face too much. I just want to add like dimension in certain areas. So that's why I prefer bronzing. So after I bronze on my nose, I like to take whatever product I use to, or I should say tool, whatever tool I use to apply my base makeup, I like to take that same tool and just dab it over the lines on my nose. And I think that that helps it to look less harsh. So again, I just want to add like some dimension. I don't really want to like change the shape of my nose or make it look too snatched. Okay, so for blush, I'm using my everyday blush. This is the Note Cosmetics blush in the shade Desert Rose. That's what this one looks like. And I do have some other blushes that I think may actually be a little bit better for like hot and humid weather, because this blush does have argan oil in it to help it like apply very smoothly. And I do have some other blushes that just don't have an oil component to it, so that may actually work a little bit better, but I'm picking this one today because I hope you would agree that it's a good blush color for me. I really love this blush. It goes on smoothly, and I just love the way it looks on my skin. So that's really why I'm picking it today. Off the top of my head, I really can't think of another blush that I would like go to for like hot and humid weather. I feel like even though given everything I just said, I feel like I would still pick this one because I really like it so much. And it's not like oily to the point where, you know, you can see the oil on your face. That's just like a very small ingredient in there to help with the application. And then on to highlighter. Lately, I've been using this. This is actually a blush from Girlactic. This is their Star Blush in the color Naples. And that's what it looks like. And I have been using this. I just cannot use this as a blush. The shade just doesn't work for me. I got this as a sample, a free sample from Girlactic. But I do really like this shade as a highlighter on me, because I think it looks quite natural. It adds like a radiance, but it's not like super blinding to the point where I feel like you can barely see it, but I think that's why I like it. I'm gonna put just a little bit down the center of my nose, and I'm also going to apply some of this on the brow bone, and then switching to a pencil brush, put some of this in my inner corner. Okay, before I finish up my eyes, I'm going to go in with one more spritz of my Rimmel Stay Matte Spray. Earlier, after I did my base makeup, I put on a healthy amount of this. I'm going to go back in with another healthy amount. And this is just like an extra layer of protection from oil coming through. And again, I'm just fanning it dry. It may have looked like I sprayed on a lot, but I was doing that because my first couple of sprays I actually missed my face. So, okay, and now I'm gonna put on some eyeliner and mascara. I'm gonna do that off camera and I'll be right back. Okay, my eye makeup is all done and I'm just going to finish everything off with a very simple eye look. So I'm going to be starting off with the Wet n Wild Color Icon lip pencil. This is in the shade Chestnut, I think this is called. All of the writing is worn off of the pencil, but I'm pretty sure this is called Chestnut. It's like a reddish burgundy brown. So I'm just going to line my lips with this. And then I like to just rub my lips together to smear the liner out a little bit. And then I'm gonna go in with the Fenty Beauty Gloss Bomb. This is another product that I am trying to pan. And I hope y'all can see like how much of it I have left. It feels like I'm just never gonna finish this thing, but I can look at how much I have left and tell that I have less than I did like when I started the project pan, so I am getting somewhere. It just, I don't know, it just feels like I'm never gonna finish this thing. This is the one that I bought. I believe I bought this on the website the day that it launched, and that was in what, September 2017, and this is the same one, and I feel like I use this like every day. But okay, so I'm gonna leave my hair back so you guys can really see my face. So this is the finished look. This is how I do my makeup on days where I really want it to hold up in hot, humid weather. So if you do any of the same techniques that I did, let me know in the comments, or if you have any other techniques that you want to suggest to me, let me know. So I really hope that y'all enjoyed the video. If you did, please let me know by giving me a thumbs up, and I really hope to see y'all back for my next one. Until then, take care. Have a good one, y'all. Bye.